بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع هداه. أما بعد. So we spoke last week about the mad الطبيعي. Anybody wants to remind us what the mad الطبيعي is? مد الطبيعي, anyone? Yes, brother. Did you say something? All right. All right. المد الطبيعي happens whenever we have حرف المد or حرف اللين, the letter of mad or the letter of lin. Whenever we have those letters, then we have at least a مد الطبيعي, at least two haraka, and the default is two haraka. And we said we will see later on the cases where the mad or harf al-mad will be extended more than two haraka in some cases, like the case that we're going to talk about today. So today we were going to speak about al-mad العارض للسكون, the mad العارض للسكون. And I said last week that it means that the mad that comes before a non-original sukun. What does it mean when we say a non-original sukun? Let me give you an example here of the word, let's say, al-yaqeen. What is the rule here in this word? From the rules that we spoke about in level 1 and in the last 2-3 weeks, what do we have here? What kind of rules do we have? Yes, Brother Yahya.
مد طبيعي.
مد طبيعي, why?
Because there's like حرف المد.
Where?
In the
This ya here?
No, the other one.
This one. All right. And this is what? Is this harf? What kind of letter is this?
حرف المد.
Harf al-mad, what's the proof?
Well, it's a ya with a sukun on it. It has a kasra before it.
All right. Do you agree with him?
Yes.
All right. Jazakallah khair. Any other rule here in this word? Yes, brother. When we stop, Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. It's up to you if you want to consider this as a rule or not. It's not like an official rule that we took, but we did speak about it. Is that in Arabic, in general, whenever we stop on a word, we put a sukun on it. So if I'm reading and I stop at this word, at the end of this word, then I would put a sukun here instead of a dhamma. Does it mean that I change the dhamma to something else? No, the dhamma is there. So the original haraka is a dhamma. But because I stopped, I'm putting a sukun. So instead of saying al-yaqeenu, I say al-yaqeen. So I put a sukun. It sounds simple. Do you find it simple? It's simple. It's a simple concept. Because I'm stopping, I stop on a sukun. Is this sukun original?
No.
Obviously, it's not. It's not original because this word has a dhamma on the nun. And this is what we mean by a non-original sukun. Is this sukun here on the an original sukun?
Yes.
Yeah, it's there. So whether I stop or don't stop, this ya will always have a sukun on it. So this is an original sukun. Is this kasra original?
Yes.
Yeah, it is an original. Is this fatha original? Yeah, because we are not changing it whether we stop or we continue. It's written that way and it is read that way. But here at the end, because I'm stopping, so I'm putting a sukun. I'm using a sukun to stop. So I say al-yaqeen. So I'm using a sukun instead of a dhamma. So this is what a non-original sukun means. And when I say al-mad, al-aarid lil-sukun, that means a mad that happens because of this non-original sukun. So whenever we have harful mad, or in some cases harful leen as well, and followed by a non-original sukun, we have al-mad al-aarid lil-sukun. And we're going to talk about how long is this mad al-aarid lil-sukun. So, as I said, when we talked about the letters of mad, huruf al-mad and huruf al-leen, when we are reading, we are trying to find these letters, because the mad depends on them. So whenever I find, let's say I'm reading this word, al-yaqeen, and I find a ya with the sukun, in this case, and before it kasra, so I confirm that it's harful mad, a letter of mad. I will have to look what's after it. So if I don't stop here, in this case, if I don't stop and I have a dhamma here, then how long will this mad be? Two haraka. Yes. Yes. So this letter will be extended to haraka. Harful mad will be to haraka. And it is called al-mad al-tabi'i, natural mad, which has two haraka. And two haraka, as we said, is the default. It's the minimum and it's the default. But because I am stopping here, let's say I decide to stop here, then there will be changes. So I'm putting a non-original sukun here. And because of this non-original sukun, I will have, as I said, a mad aarid lil-sukun. So how long I'm going to be able to extend this? The mad aarid lil-sukun is extended 2, 4, or 6 haraka. 2, 4, or 6. Which means that I could say al-yaqeen, I could say al-yaqeen, and I could say al-yaqeen. Too long? The 6 haraka is similar to, it's because it's popular and I'm going to mention it now, but I'm not going to talk about the rule itself. When we hear in Surah Al-Fatiha, وَلَضَّالِّينَ, it's the same length as this one, 6 haraka. So it's obvious to everyone that that's a long type of mad, وَلَضَّالِّينَ, right? So this is the same as this, 6 haraka. What do most people do here in this type of mad? Do they make it like 2 haraka? Do they make it 4? Or do they make it 6? 3?
Is it different from one qira'ah to another, or is it the same?
Say again?
Is it different from one qira'ah to another? Like warsh or hafs?
No, it's not different. It's not different.
Okay. So it's the same, like if people do it harakain, it will be harakain.
Yeah, the rule is that if I start reciting with 2 haraka, let's say I want to recite Surah Al-Ma'un or whatever, and I want to read it with 2 haraka, then I will have to do it 2 haraka all the way. If I decide to do it 4, then I do it all the way 4. If I decide to do it 6, then I have to do it 6 all the way. During the test, the next upcoming test, and the next levels as well, I will ask you before you start reading. Hopefully, I will remember to ask you how long you will be making this mad, right? Because Because you can imagine that a person may start with 2, and then in the middle will switch to 4, and then go to 6, and then come back to 2. So I have to have basically an answer from you. Am I going to hold you accountable on 2 or 4 or 6? Right? So, and of course, in the same, let's say in the same, within the same surah, the same sitting, or the same, let's say the same rak'ah, or the same surah in the same rak'ah, you would be keeping it the same. But let's say if you decide later on to read another surah, you can change it, or maybe in the next rak'ah you can change from 2 to 4 or 4 to 6, whatever is convenient. Usually something in between, like here 4, is used because it's nice and it's not too long. This is what most people use during Taraweeh, and people who want to read in somewhat fast manner. So they use something in between. 2 is basically too short. For somebody who really wants to finish quickly, then he may be reading with 2. And 6, somebody who has a lot of time. And usually it's like a recording, studio recording of some famous Qurra. They would recite with 6. I remember Sheikh Muhammad Ayyub in his famous recording, one of the famous recording, he read with 6. And it's not something that you would listen to very often because it's so long. Everything is stretched out and long. So something in between is used by most people in most situations. So today we're going to practice this. We're going to try to practice the 2, the 4, and the 6 to see how it feels. To see how it feels. Any questions? So this type of mud, in the first week we spoke about huruf al-mad, the letters of mad. And I hope everyone understands what huruf al-mad are. And we spoke about, after that, huruf al-lin. And then we started with the first type of mad, which is al-mad al-tabi'i. Al-mad al-tabi'i, of course, applies to huruf al-mad, the letters of mad, and it also applies to huruf al-lin in the same manner. And the mad, the length of the mad is the same, 2 haraka. This mad, mad al-arad lil-sukun, also applies to huruf al-mad and huruf al-lin in the same manner with the same length, 2, 4, or 6. And there is a reason why I'm saying this, because we'll see later on some differences. So the 2 types of mad that we spoke about so far apply to both huruf al-mad and huruf al-lin. Let's say if I would give an example of a letter of lin, let's say the word al-qawl. In this word, what do we have? Harf, yes? Harf lin. What's the proof, brother Sharif?
الواو من حروف اللين ساكن قبله حرف القاف عليه فتحة.
طيب, do we have to mention that it's qaf?
No.
All right. So, jazakallah khair. So we have a waw with the sukun preceded by a fatha. And that's the condition for harful lin. So here, similarly, we have a mad al-tabi'i if we don't stop. If we don't stop, I say al-qawl. But if I stop, then I will have to put a sukun here. I will use a sukun. And because of that, we will have a mad aarid lil-sukun. And because it's a mad aarid lil-sukun, so I have the option to make it 2, 4, or 6. 2, 4, or 6. So I can say al-qawl, I can say al-qawl, or I can say al-qawl. 2, 4, or 6, yes. What do you mean by it has to be consistent?
As you said earlier, 4, that means 4 all the way.
Yes. Yes, what we mean by all the way, when we say it has to be 4 all the way, if you select 4, it means in the same sitting, right? If you start reciting a surah and you are not stopping anywhere in between and you decide to use 4, then you recite 4 all the way, right? If 5 minutes later you want to come back and read more and you want to recite with 6, then you go 6 all the way until you stop reading, or you stop and change your mind and say, yeah, from now on I'm going to read it 4, right? Or in the next rak'ah, as I said, in the next rak'ah you decide to make it longer or shorter. It happens, I mean, during Taraweeh, let's say somebody's leading Taraweeh and then he feels like after the first rak'ah he feels that he was reading extremely slow, or he was using like the mud that's longer. Then in the second rak'ah I will decide to read with the shorter mud, which is okay. So these are just a couple examples, one from huruf al-mad and one from huruf al-lin. And we'll see more examples while we are reading. Today we are reading Surah Al-Fatiha, and we'll be doing something different today with Surah Al-Fatiha, as I mentioned last week. Unless you have questions. Do you have questions? As I said, as we go, we're going to be coming back all the time and comparing with the Mad al-Tabi'i, comparing with the Mad al-Ardi Sukun as we move on. Because there are some things that we don't want to mention now to avoid any confusion. So we will mention them later on while we are comparing and while we are taking new rules. All right. If you don't have any questions, we'll start reading Surah Al-Fatiha. We're going to be starting. Last week we started with Brother Sajjad, right? All right. Let's start with Brother Adil. And before you start, you tell me how many harakah you're going to be making, or I tell you what to do. What do you prefer? All right, let me tell you what to do and see if you can do it. Let me tell you what to do. There is no point trying all 3 of them, so we'll just pick one. For each individual, we'll pick one and see how it does. And I want you to be the judge with me. I want you to be the judge. You pay attention to what he's reading. And we are not going to stop him, but we'll try to write down what mistakes he did in terms of mad al-'Arḍ lil-sukun. Let's just concentrate on this today. So let's say you want something difficult or something easy? You want 4? All right, let's give him 4, Brother Adil. So 4. We'll judge him for 4.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. So what did we notice? Yes, Brother Sharif.
I think sometimes it becomes 6.
Sometimes it becomes 6.
Like Nasta'in, when he says Nasta'in,
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
All right. What about wala ad-dallin? Ad-dallin was long, was obviously long, and also Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So it's good that you mentioned A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Does Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim a mad عارض للسكون or not? It does. Most people will fail in this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Because he thinks, I didn't start yet. So, but you actually read it. So it has to be read according to what you decided to make. You decided to make 4. So you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Right? You make it 4 as well because it has mad عارض للسكون. Can you see it there? The word Rahim. What kind of letter does it have, Brother Adil?
Yeah. Before it kasra.
So what letter is that?
مد طبيعي.
You should say that it is حرف المد. Yeah, because I asked you what kind of letter, not what kind of mad. Because the kind of mad depends on what you do. If you stop, then it is mad عارض للسكون. But if you don't stop, then it is mad طبيعي. So the mad depends on what you are planning to do. It's not something that is fixed. Right? It's not something that is fixed. It's not something that is this kind of mad all the time. No. So in this case, because you stopped, so it's mad عارض للسكون. If you had continued, then it would have been mad طبيعي. Do you agree with him? Well, he did well overall. Yeah, he did well. Maybe a little bit of fine tuning, inshallah, in the 4 haraka. All right, Jazakallah khair. Next, Brother Abdullah, what do you want to pick? 2 or 6?
6 Abdullah. Professional Abdullah.
Professional?
Why we don't do cyclic?
Say again?
So randomly, start with 2 and then the next person 4 and the next person 6 so that you don't give them the choice. I don't know.
I tell you the reason why. What do you think the reason is? What do you think the reason is behind me not doing this in order?
We don't get to prepare?
Yes. We don't want you to prepare. I said it many times, and I say it again. It's not beneficial to prepare now. You can prepare at home. That's fine. But to prepare while somebody else is reading, that's why we want to be able to listen to the person who is reading. As I said, if you can't detect the mistakes of the person who is reading, that means your level is not better. You want to be better, right? That means your level is the same or lower. So we have to be able to detect the mistakes of others, not to put them down or anything. But we have to be able to detect them. So that's the reason. So we'll try to do it, or you have to work with me. Try to pay attention to the reader more than trying to think who is next and what kind of mud he's going to be making. You okay with Sitta? Were you preparing while I was talking? It's a good practice. Let's try it. 6, inshallah. Abdullah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
جزاك الله خير. So what do you think? MashaAllah. So he is professional. MashaAllah. The word na'budu, as I mentioned before, na'budu. So make sure there is a dhamma on it. It was very obvious today that it didn't sound like a dhamma. So na'budu. Alright? Jazakallah khair. Brother Nasser. You want to choose 4? Did you prepare? All right.
I'm thinking to use my finger when I'm comfortable.
How do you read usually? Like you read with 4 usually?
Actually, it's the first time I know that this route 2 or 4.
All right.
So I took no, I don't.
All right. You don't count usually. All right. Okay. You want to try 4?
Yeah.
All right.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم ملك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. What do you think?
I think I missed عليهم.
Alayhim?
Well, different one.
What is the problem with alayhim? What kind of mad we have in alayhim?
Which one?
غير المغضوب عليهم. There is 2 of them, but anyway.
I mean the first one.
What kind of mad?
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم.
What kind of mad we have in the word alayhim?
We have مد طبيعي.
Why?
It's preceded with the فتحة.
So you said we have mad tabi'i. I ask you why. So you should say.
حرف الياء preceded with the فتحة.
Is that enough? You should say, is it because we have harful mad or harful lin? So is it harful mad or harful lin?
أو حرف المد.
It's harful mad.
Yeah.
Do you agree with him?
No.
They don't agree with you, brother Nasser. You want to change your mind? Harful lin. Why is it harful lin?
Because it's preceded by فتحة.
Because it has a sukoon first.
Yeah, it has a sukun.
Because the ya has a sukoon preceded by fatha. So because we have harful lin, so it is mad tabi'i. Otherwise, you did pretty well. The other 4 haraka were good. If you try to count, I personally don't advise people to try to count, because unless you are reading really, really slow, it's just too difficult to think about the counting and read at the same time. I personally found it difficult, and I'm still finding it difficult to try to count. Instead of counting, I advise people to listen to the recording. Listen to the recording and even try to read at the same time. Because what happens if you are reading at the same time, you can hear, did he stop before you or after you? Right? Did he make the word longer or shorter? So while the reciter is reading, you can basically you are learning the timing, especially when it comes to the mudud. He's saying, let's say, وَلَضَّالِّينَ, and then you stopped like way before, right? Then you know that you are making it shorter. Of course, provided that you want to do the same type of mad or the same length. All right, so that's a better way of learning the timing instead of trying to count. This is what I found personally. Jazakallah khair, Brother Nasser. Brother Sharif, shall we give you the option too?
It's up to you.
Nobody tried 2, so you want to try 2?
Okay.
You're a professional. MashaAllah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. So what do you think? Was good? I think it was a tiny bit longer than 2 haraka. A tiny bit longer. Because remember that the word, let's say, lillahi or al-a, this is 2 haraka, so it has to be the same as this. Maliki, if you are reading with hafs. And iyaka, this is 2 haraka. So the 2 haraka of المد العارض للسكون has to be similar to this. Right? So yours was a tiny bit longer. Jazakallah khair. Brother Hanif. 6? 2? Alright, try 2. Allah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
So how do you feel when you read with 2? Strange. Yeah, it's like a weird feeling because it's like too short, right? It's like a weird feeling. Huh?
It's like more difficult.
Yeah, it is more difficult because you're trying to stop sooner than what you are usually accustomed to. Right? Jazakallah khair. It was.
Should be 2 haraka or
Say again?
even Darleen should be 2 haraka or
Not the first one, not the da, not
I mean the last,
the lean.
yeah.
Yes, and he did. I think he did because I always watch for that one because that one usually people tend to make it longer. The last part of the dalin, the lean, but he did. I think he did well in that one because usually people when they say wala da, they tend to say lean, especially in the salah. I mean, in the salah it's pretty obvious that they make it extra long there.
So the second one, how many haraka?
He was reading with 2, so 2. Because he started with 2, so the lean of al-dalin is 2.
I think he made it down.
He made it a little bit longer?
I think
He's talking about the not lean.
No, we are not talking about the dalin. I don't think, Brother Nasser, you're talking about the da. No, the da is long. I'm talking about the lean, the second part.
it should be 2 haraka.
Yes. No, it should be in the way he read it,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he decided to read with 2. Yes. And I think he read it with 2. Of course, the da, as we said, the da is always long. That one is always long. All right. Jazakallah khair. Brother Ahmad. What do you want? Like 6? Try 6 because I mean either 2 or 6. Try the 2 then. 2. I think the 2 is more difficult. Yeah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. So what do you think?
Some of them was a
A little bit longer. I think it was a tiny bit longer. And this is where the difficulty is, because we are used to, most of us are used to make it longer. So to make it shorter, especially here in this particular type of mud, it's kind of not very convenient. And it's not as nice when you try to make it extremely short. So it was a little bit longer, just a tiny bit longer than the 2 haraka. Jazakallah khair. Brother Ibrahim, so 6? 6 minutes. Why don't you try 6?
4.
4? That's it? All right, 4.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. So what do you think? No objections? No objections? All right, na'budu, you made an effort to make sure that the dal had a dhamma, but you made it a little too long. So, because if you make it too long, then you will get into another issue, which is a mad basically. Right? We don't want to make a mad there, na'budu, right? But we want to make it just enough to show the dhamma. Na'budu, na'budu, jump straight away to the waw. Na'budu. And the da of maghdubi, make sure the tip of the tongue doesn't come out between the teeth. Maghdubi wala dhalin. The da, the tip of the tongue is inside. Right? So it's not dha. It's da. It's inside. The tip of the tongue has to stay inside. Alright? Jazakallah khair. Brother Muhammad, which one do you want? Something difficult? 3.5?
Or just 2?
2? Alright. 2 inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. So what do you think? Well, I guess we learned from the previous experiences. Right? Did you?
Yes.
Well, that's the benefit of reading later, basically. But it was good. The timing was good. And you can feel that it's short, right? This is what we need. We need to feel that it's short. Jazakallah khair. Na'budu. The dhamma was not clear enough. Jazakallah khair. Brother Mustafa?
I want to try that too.
You want to try the 2? All right.
Is that okay?
It's all right. Somebody said 6, but...
6?
Give him something tough. I think that...
It's easy. 6 is easier than the 2. Yeah. I could, whichever one you want.
All right, let's give him something more challenging. Halfway, go from 2 to 6. We don't usually do this, but this is just an exercise. So halfway, let's say after number 5, number 5, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, go to 6.
Alternate between 2 and 6.
No, start with 2. Maybe when we get to you, we'll make you do this.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
So what do you think?
Doing 8.
I'm
doing 8.
Well, the last one was kind of a little longer than nasta'in or mustaqim. Little longer or more long than the mustaqim. And the 2 haraka was a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. But otherwise, it was good. All right. Jazakallah khair. Brother Yahya, what do you want to do?
I don't know.
You want like something long, like 6, all the way?
Can I do what Mustafa did?
All right. All right. Do it in reverse. Do 6 first, and then 2 last.
Okay.
All right.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. So what do you think? MashaAllah. All right. The 6 haraka has to be longer than that. I know maybe you didn't take a deep breath, so you need to take a deeper breath and make it longer. They were consistent, which is a good thing. They were consistent. They were all the same, which is good because we want them all the same, whether you are reading with 2 or 4 or 6. But we want them a little longer. And the 2 haraka needed to be a little shorter. But they were consistent. Jazakallah khair. And the word na'budu was good. Except that you picked up something from your dad, probably. The word, no, not that one. The word alayhim. Alayhim. Because I was mentioning it last time. Alayhim, you are making qalqala of the mim. Alayhim wa al-talim. In the test. Yeah. All right, jazakallah khair. So, what kind of difficulty we should give your dad?
Make him alternate. Yeah, you went 2, 4, and 6.
2, 4.
Then switch back to 2, 4.
Well, Brother Abu Yahya, he brought some muffins. He may take them away. If you want to eat the muffins, then you have to be easy on him.
Skip me this time.
All right, let's. You want to try the same what Yahya did? No. Was it too difficult? You want just 4? That's it. You're a professional. Okay, do 4 and 2 then. Start with 4 and then 2.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين
2. It's supposed to be 2.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
You don't know what you did. Well, it confused you a little bit, but it's okay. It was not very consistent. It was like 4, 3.5, 3, 2. But it's a good exercise. You can try it at home. You can try it with 2, try it with 4, try it with 6, and you can listen to different recordings. I don't think you will find any recording where they read with 2. I mean, it's extremely rare that you will find something like that. Yeah, more practice, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Brother Baghdad. 4. Why don't you try 6?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
جزاك الله خير. What do you think? Maybe longer? Well, in the last word, ضالين, the word ضالين, because the word ضالين has, as I said, the first mad is long, it's 6 haraka, and since the mad al-'arid lil-sukun, you were doing it 6, so they should have been equal. But when you read it, they were not equal. So the issue was apparent there when you read the word ضالين. They should have been equal. ولا الضالين. They should have been equal. But otherwise it was consistent. It was, alhamdulillah, consistent. Jazakallah khair. And finally, Brother Sajjad.
Maybe 2.
2? All right. Go ahead with 2.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. What do you think? MashaAllah. It was longer? Yes, I think it was longer. And overall, the 2 haraka was a little bit longer. It should have been shorter, much shorter. So that's why we need the practice. And as I said, to compare this 2 haraka that we are doing, or that Brother Sajjad did in the mad al-'arid lil-sukun, we have to compare it to the mad al-tabi'i found in some of the words here. As I said, lillahi, al-a, and ar-rahmani, and maliki, and iyaka. This is how long it should be. So you have to compare to this and make the mad al-'arid lil-sukun similar. Or if you do in double, then double. Or if you do in 3 times, you do it 3 times for 6 haraka. All right, let me read it. I will read it 3 times, 1 with 2 haraka, and then 4, and then 6. Hopefully, if you can find an issue, then tell me. It has to be consistent. So you're looking basically for consistency. They all have to be consistent, all of them. And also, when you compare them to mad al-tabi'i, they should be equal if I'm doing 2. And as I said, if I'm doing 4, then it has to be double. And if I'm doing 6, then it has to be triple. All right, so this is what we are looking for. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So that's it too. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. And 6. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So, any mistakes? Consistency? Consistent? Alhamdulillah. So this was the something different to exercise with today for the Mad al-Arad al-Sukun. And as I said, to keep in mind something important is that the Mad, especially the Mad al-Arad al-Sukun, while you are reading, especially when you are reading the ayat that are long, right, in the surah that are at the beginning of the Quran, for instance, where we have a long ayat, you will have to stop somewhere in the middle of an ayah. So you will have to know what to do. So if you stop on a word like this, then you have to make mad arad lil-sukun. And it has to be consistent with how you started. You cannot just do it in any which way. And if you don't stop on it, then there is just a mad al-tabi'i. So depending on where you stop, there will be rules that you're going to be applying. And those same rules, they may not apply if you don't stop. So on one hand, it gives you flexibility to stop and continue from wherever you want, right? As long as the meaning is complete. And on the other hand, it's kind of challenging because you're going to be applying rules as you go. It's not just a set of rules that apply all the time and it's there. No, it's something that is flexible. It could apply in some situations, and sometimes it doesn't apply in the same ayah or even in the same word. And this goes for the same for other rules, even like the noon, the rules of the noon that we took in level 1. The same thing applies to them. That means you could have idgham if you continue, and if you stop, you don't have idgham, right? So depending on what you do, you will have to decide where to apply the rule. So I just wanted to mention the people who are next in line to be active. Actually, the people first, the people who have a chance to be active in this level, are Brother Bassam and Brother Ahmad and Brother Nabil and Brother Slim and Brother Salman. Those are the people who have a chance to be active. The priority, I think it's Brother Bassam will be next in line. Inshallah, I will let you know what's the priority for the other people next week, inshallah. Any questions? Yes, brother.
So how about if there's a word like huwa and you're stopping on it, so it turns into hu?
Yes.
Is that only to haraka like mad tabi'i, or do we do something else with it?
It's a good question. The word like a word like who, it was supposed to be, let's say, huwa. If we stop on it, what happens if we stop on this word? Since you asked the question, let's share it.
Nothing.
Nothing? What do you mean by nothing?
Just a stop. One haraka.
Just one haraka. Okay. Yes, brother.
مد عارض للسكون.
مد عارض للسكون. All right. Anybody has a different opinion? So brother Abu Yahya said nothing, that means just one haraka. And brother Baghdad said مد عارض للسكون. It's good you asked this question because it seems that we have a problem. Anybody else wants to contribute? مد طبيعي. All right. That's what you said, Abu Yahya? Why? Just tell me why before we give the conclusion if it's correct or not. Yes, brother Abu Yahya?
Because you are stopping on half المد and half اللين. Stopping on it. There's nothing after it.
It doesn't really explain it. It doesn't really... Brother Adil?
There is no sukun after حرف المد حرف الواو. It's not حرف عارض السكون.
All right. Jazakallah khair. That's the first part that we need to understand. To have المد العارض للسكون, the حرف المد or حرف اللين has to be before last. Before last. Because you have to have a sukun after it. That means you have to have a letter after it. In this case, even if we consider this as, whether we consider this as harf al-mad or not, you have to have something after it with the sukun, non-original sukun. In this case, we don't have anything after it, which means that we will end up with a waw with the sukun if we stop. And because the waw has a sukun and a dhamma before it, that means it's harf al-mad. And harf al-mad, we said that we extend it, how many? 2 haraka, not 1. At the beginning you said 1, but Abu Yahya. But because it's harf al-mad, we extend it 2 haraka. Unless there is something that will make it, as it is the case here, it will make it be extended more than 2 haraka. In this case, we have a non-original sukun that came after harf al-mad. In this case, we don't have anything after harf al-mad. We are stopping, that means we don't have anything. Whenever we say we are stopping, that means automatically we don't have anything after it, even if there is words here, there are words here, but it's considered that we don't have anything after it because we stopped. So we have harf al-mad and there is nothing after it. So it stays as harf al-mad, which means that the mad is mad tabi'i. Yes.
But it's not original sukun.
Well, whether it is original sukun or non-original sukun, in the case of harf al-mad, we didn't say anything about original sukun or non-original sukun. It's a good question because it will come up later on. It affects the non-original sukun affects harf al-mad in terms of extending harf al-mad longer than 2 haraka when it comes after it, not when it is on top of it. So harf al-mad, whether it has an original sukun or a non-original sukun, it doesn't matter. And I think I mentioned this previously. I said whether the haraka is original or not, it may or may not affect the rule. So in some cases it affects the rule, like the case of the mad عارض للسكون. So whether it is original or not, it affects it. But here it doesn't affect it. It doesn't affect it, meaning that even though we have a non-original sukun, but we still have harf al-mad. So even though the waw had a non-original sukun, but it was still considered harf al-mad. So it didn't affect it. Is it clear? Any other questions? Yes, brother.
The mid-level test next week?
The mid-level test is next week. And of course, you're going to be reading from a surah that I'm not going to tell you what it is ahead of time. So you will open the Mus'haf and read the surah. I thought it's useful so that we take a break. On one hand, we take a break and reflect on the rules that we took before, and try to put them into practice. And it is a surprise so that we find out if we really are able to put these rules into practice without preparing ahead of time, right?
So make khatam before you come.
Well, there are people who do this. There was this brother was telling me about. He had an exam, Quran exam. He had to review the Quran in one day, so he had to review it. So he just went and reviewed it. I told him, how many hours did it take? I think it took him like 17 hours or something. But he had to review the whole Quran. No, this guy, he reviewed it because it was a Quran test. That means they will test you on if you memorize it or not.
So next week will be in the short surah or?
It's a few ayat. It's huh? Well, there was a brother who wanted to buy something from me, and he was asking me inside the masjid. And inside the masjid, we don't talk about business inside the masjid. So I told him, once we get out, and I'm usually careful about these things because I don't want to do business inside the masjid. Nobody should do business inside the masjid. So I told him, once we get out, I will tell you what the price is. I can't tell you right now. He said, please, please. I said, no. He said, okay, I will tell you amounts and just say yes or no. And he kept like insisting. And then he said, okay, is it between 1,000 and 2,000? I told him, I'm not going to tell you. So I'm not going to tell you the surah or the ayat. just be prepared.
Even if we ask you outside?
Not even outside, yeah. And it's not a masjid anyway, so yeah. We'll talk business outside. Any questions before we stop? So we have a short test, and hopefully if it's short enough, we'll continue talking about the next rule, which is المد اللازم. المد اللازم, the homework for المد اللازم, just in case we'll have time to do it, the homework is Surah Al-An'am, ayah number 80. It is written in the paper that I emailed you. So I emailed you the link to the playlist, which is the level 2 videos, and I emailed you the link to the tests that we did here. Probably most of you saw this, and a word of thanks for the gift and the nice words that you wrote. I sent a copy of the card. I don't know who wrote that question at the top there. The question on the card was, I don't know if you read it. It says, what did it say?
Something about izhar.
Yeah, they were applying the rules of idhar and ikhfa on the card. All right. So this level is a little bit shorter than the only issue we have that level once we start level 3. Somewhere in the middle of level 3, Ramadan will start. So we usually stop during Ramadan, and we will, inshallah, stop during Ramadan. So we either can speed up the process or go slow, and wherever we stop, we'll pick up, inshallah, after Ramadan. So this is something to think about. This level is going to end May 6th. If we don't stop, level 2 will end May 6th, and then we'll start after that the following week on level 3.
What's level 3?
Level 3 is mainly the rules of Ra. The rules of Ra are, it's a long topic. We'll talk about it for 3-4 weeks. The rules of Ra. It's a little bit complicated and simple at the same time, but we need time to talk about these rules. And also because it needs to be put into practice, so you need to give yourself time to put them into practice. And the rules of meme. The rules of meme, because in the level 1 we talked about the rules of noon sakina. So in level 3 we'll talk about the rules of al-meme sakina. This is mainly the level 3 and 2 or 3 other things, small things. Level 4, we have some small sophisticated stuff that's not really for a beginner. Like it's mainly for people who have a good level, who would have achieved a good level in Tajweed once we get to that level 4. So we have Hamzat al-Wasl, we have Iltiqa al-Sakinain, the meeting of 2 sukoons, and we have the Tafkhim and Tarqiq. So those are like basically it's obvious that it's going to be like a more advanced level. By then, inshallah, we'll be like professionals. Inshallah. Any other questions before we stop, inshallah? All right. I guess it's pretty much time for Maghrib. Yeah. All right. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.